Welcome to Ukraine Today. My name is Tom Bell, and joining us in the newsroom is Galia Ackerman. She is a specialist on Russia, journalist and writer. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to talk to you today about the relations between Russia and the European Union. Particularly in focus recently has been this Mistral deal, and the French Parliament have started a debate now because of this cancellation on its relations with Russia. How do you see this going forward? What do you think will happen in the future with these trade relations?
Well, I think the decision of the President Hollande not to deliver Mistrals to Russia was a very bold decision, a very brave decision, and of course everybody in France did not like it because it was a contract between two states, Russia and France. It was not a commercial contract but a state contract. And so there are deputies, there are writers, political scientists who say that it is a shade on French reputation because they are able to break a state contract. But I think, of course, Hollande did the right thing. And by the way, maybe today, if Mistrals were delivered, they would participate in operations, military operations in Syria, or they could have been used against Ukraine to take Mariupol, for instance, and so on. So it's in itself a very good decision. Now there is a whole pro-Russia party in France, which includes some deputies of the classical right-wing party, which is now called Republicans. The Republicans, this is the party of Nicolas Sarkozy. Sarkozy signed this contract, state contract, so of course he is against the cancellation of it. And there are some extreme right deputies as well, and even some extreme left deputies, which were against this cancellation of the deal. Now, I think the damage to Hollande's reputation, who is not very popular in France, as you know, depends on whether France finds another buyer for these Mistrals and can compensate the financial losses, or it is not. If the buyer is not found, then France will lose money which was already repaid to Russia, more than $1 billion. And of course, it will be used against François Hollande. But Hollande is, for the time being, quite confident the buyer will be found.
Because you have Egypt and the several other buyers as well.
There are several possible buyers, even Malaysia and several countries, maybe 6 or 7 countries. But now Russians have to take their equipment out of it, so it will take some time. And you cannot finalize the new contract before Russians take all their equipments which were installed on those Mistrals. So it will take probably a few months more. But of course, I'm confident. It will be solved.
Do you think that will affect other trade deals in the future between the European Union and Russia? Do you think that both parties will be a bit more nervous about striking any contracts?
No, I don't think it will affect any deal between Russia and France. I think what can affect other deals is especially a very bad economic situation of Russia and the fact that now we can see that even international justice cannot do much against Russia. Not only there is no independent justice in Russia itself, but even when the Hague Court, arbitrage court, condemned Russia in Yukos and ordered to repay $50 billion to to UCA's minor actionaries, Russia is not going to repay it. So what is the point to invest in the country whose money is sinking, ruble is going lower and lower every day, the country which is under international sanctions, which cannot borrow money which means to pay what in the framework of international exchanges and so on. And the direct investment in Russia fell almost 50% in the last 6 months.
And there was large capital outflows as well, millions and millions of dollars.
Right. So I think that there might be a blow to the commerce between France and Russia, but it is mostly not due to a Mistral deal. And you could see that Russia was rather conciliant with this cancellation. I mean, France paid the money which was advanced and some expenses of Russia, to form the Marines and so on. But they didn't ask any compensation beyond the initial sum, which means that they do not want to complicate ever more relationship with France.
Yeah, because the Kremlin has many leverages against the European Union. Not only do you have this information war, but you have this economic and political leverage. Within France itself, how are the people supporting Russia? Is there big support for Russia now, or less or more, or is it still indifferent over what's going on in Ukraine?
I would say that there is no popular support for Russia. I think the image of Putin and Kremlin is rather negative in France. But there is a pressure of economic circles, business circles, and which are supported by France's right-wing parties, because, of course, every limitation on commerce produces some losses. And there are definitely losses because of the Russian counter-sanctions, which affect the French agriculture.
And that's one of the biggest sectors in France, isn't it? Is it about 40%, 30-40%?
No, it is not. It is not the biggest sector in France, but it is a sensitive sector because, even traditionally, France was an agricultural country, and it is a pride of France, its agriculture and its farmers, and socially speaking, it is a very powerful group.
I wanted to ask you also about the pipelines that are running from Russia to the European Union. We've had different projects, the South Stream pipeline, the Turkish Stream, and now Nord Stream 2 that's planned for the Baltics. Do you think that's much of, is it going to have much of an impact, do you think?
Well, all these plans were intended to stop the transit through Ukraine, because they just don't want to support Ukraine in anything. Since Ukraine gets some important sums of money from this transit, they want to cut this transit. But as you could see, with the anti-monopolistic laws of the European Union, this South Stream could not be realized. Then they invented this Turkish Stream, and they still cannot make a real deal with the Turks about this Turkish Stream, and the European countries don't want to build pipelines from the Turkish hub to Europe.
So for now, it's not really a threat.
And now there is this Nord Stream 2, and we still don't know whether it will pass the approval of the European Union. So there is no interest to talk about it. Also, it has to be somehow profitable to build it. And when the prices of oil and gas are falling, and for the next 2 or 3 years, we cannot see how they can go up. Mm-hmm. I think it is very difficult to really convince Western companies to invest in a new project, because there is a surplus of oil and gas now in the world. So.
Okay, excellent, Galia. Thank you very much for coming in to Ukraine today. That was Galia Ackerman. She is a specialist on Russia, journalist and writer. Now back to the news.